So, man.
What's going on?
So, man.
Not much. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So we got.
Uh-oh, Steve's joining us today, huh?
Yeah. You won't. Once it goes in, you won't see that.
You're popping up.
Yeah. I'll probably. But yeah. He's chilling in the background. All right. So it should be. I don't. I gotta make sure that.
Gentlemen.
Hey, Joe.
All right. So hang on. All right. So hang on. to keep up with the college landscape and everything that's going on, what's happening in the world. So we are live today. You see on the screen a call-in number, 518-552-0725. You can call in there. You can ask us some questions. We're going to be joined by Joe Sager, our good friend Joe Sager from the home of paper from Lawrence University, Trent Frederick from Eckerd College Division II, and so Trent is also our cap director down in Florida Rush. So again, you see we have some call-in options, but we're going to get started here. We're going to switch over. How you guys doing, man?
Doing good, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Josh. Good to hear from you. Good to be back on again. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, now see that, and that's an intro. Trent, I'm gonna try this one again. You gotta be really excited. Trent, how you doing down there in Florida?
Yeah, we're doing good. Thanks for having us. Looking forward to today.
Yeah, man.
I'll take tips from Joe.
Joe is the man, the myth, the legend. If you've tuned in before on the show, Joe's been for a while. So, Joe, we appreciate you taking the time again to be here.
And Trent, it's another top tip for you. The more you speak, the less Josh can make fun of you. So that's another tip for you, okay?
Always.
There's a 90% chance.
Captions, graphics.
It really grinds his teeth. Well, hey, let's we got some callers on the phone. Callers, this is the call-in line. We are live on YouTube. If you want to watch live, we encourage you to head to youtube.com/Rush Soccer. If you're on the line right now, you're waiting to ask some questions, is what kind of is happening on the call. So if you've tuned in on the phone number to listen, head over to youtube.com/Rush Soccer, and we are live there. So and we're gonna dive into it here. So let's get started with what's happening across the world. Trent in Florida and Joe in Appleton, Wisconsin. Let's chat. Let's start with D3 and see what are you guys looking like right now?
Well, I would say I think as of one conference in the country is planning on sponsoring fall sports. I think the majority have postponed or cancelled their fall championships, and that's going to depend on conferences. I do, but the NCAA did cancel its fall sport championship, so there's going to be no NCAA national champion this year. I know for the conference that some type of conference schedule in the spring, but obviously that's going to depend on if it's safe. I think that's the biggest challenge right now for a lot of the smaller schools and some of the bigger schools, safe from the COVID-19.
Joe, go back on this, and I think this is a confusing point for a lot of people. Is so the D3 is canceled. What does that mean? What does that mean?
A fall sport championship is basically what determines the national champion, and that is sponsored by the NCAA. Individual conferences. So, for example, Lawrence University plays in the Midwest Conference, and we play games against. And you basically have to win our conference to go and get into the NCAA sponsors. So you can play conference games this fall, but you could not play in NCAA, so it is a little bit confusing. Oftentimes, and it kind of happened backwards compared to what happened in the spring. If we think back to March when the NCAA cancelled March Madness, that basically led to institutions and conferences around the country cancelling their own conference games because there was no spring championships, whereas this time around it kind of was member conferences cancelling, which I think then led to the NCAA championships being cancelled as well.
So if your conference decides to play, the championship will be in the spring, I guess.
So we're going to play a conference schedule hopefully in the spring, and if Lawrence wins, we would be noted as the Midwest Conference champions, but we would not go on then and play the winners from, say, the American Rivers Conference, which is in Iowa, or the SLIAC, which is a lot of St. Louis schools, which would normally happen in a fall season. So I think probably about 2/3 of conferences are right now at least planning on some type of spring championship. With some conferences have also just said we completely cancelled. There'll be no fall sports in the academic year 2021.
Okay. Okay. Trent, Division Two. For those on the phone that have called in, we're going to get to your questions shortly. Just hang on. We'll get your questions there. If you called in to listen, head over to youtube.com/Rush. Amazing beard that he's been rocking out. And you can see Trent. So if you get a chance, head to youtube.com/Rush Soccer. You can actually watch live, and then we'll get some questions answered here. So, Trent, we're going to head over to you, man. What's it look like for you guys?
Yeah, so Division Two is AA has canceled our fall championships as well. So we're basically just reversing spring season in the fall with no competitions, just practicing, and then we're going to move into a spring season pretty much the same as Joe with conference only and a conference tournament. Wouldn't go outside of the conference to play any games, and just keeping it within our own conference. Pretty much every Division Two school or conference, except I think two conferences are still on the fence right now about playing in the fall, but pretty much almost 90% of Division Two conferences have postponed to the spring as well. So pretty much same across the board.
And so, what does that mean? Division Two is in a quiet period right now. So, what does the quiet period look like for you guys?
So the quiet period, we can have our college-bound student athletes onto campus and still talk to them as long as your campus is permitting that, of course. Some campuses are on lockdown with only their student athletes, or their students, sorry. And we can still have conversations with college-bound student athletes on the phone, through email, as long as they're of age, but attend showcases. We can work camps, as long as we're employed by the camps. So that's a good way to be seen by Division Two schools at this time, is to go to IDs.
Okay, and that's a fantastic topic that we're going to dive into shortly as well. But as Trent said, is college ID camps so they're called non-institutional camps. So they're camps that are not put on. So exact camps is probably the biggest one, and we have college exposure camps, which is the best one. That's run by an organization called Rush Soccer. On that front, because right now your quiet period is August 31st. What are you hearing? Right. Is that going to be extended, or what are you guys hearing on that?
So I've heard that it's going to be extended. Right now, probably, as they're discussing everything else, it'll be extended through the month of September. But we've heard as far as the end of the year as well. So it could just be an interesting fall season. So, any way you can get in front of coaches, video, ID camps, those are going to be the only ways coaches are going to be able to see you this fall, most likely.
So not only will you're not going to have a fall season in a time that would be great to watch games, you can't watch games.
Yeah, can't watch them at all.
Whew. I mean, that makes a lot of sense for no one.
I know. When you have downtime, you can't actually go travel and recruit. Right?
So, Joe, Division III, what are you guys looking at recruitment-wise?
So we don't have a dead period. However, institutions going to have their own rules regarding travel and what's permissible at the moment. So I can talk to Lawrence right now. My institution is not allowing any university sanctioned travel. So the university, we have money we can use to fly and go and see stuff. We're not allowed to use any of that right now because they don't want to put at risk. So as you can imagine, as a college coach, I can maybe, if people are local and things like that, we can get to what that looks like. And that's going to depend coach to coach, institution to institution on what they're, and not just soccer coaches, but all sport coaches with what they're allowed to do based on guidance from their legal counsel and their committee regarding COVID safety. In terms of our campus visits, we were, again, it's specific, but a lot of schools are either not allowing people to come to campus. For Lawrence, we're a little bit less restrictive than that. We will allow people to come to campus if they can drive their own car and not stop from their home to campus. So, literally, and it's very restrictive, maybe a couple of nights, so I'm not allowed to even bring a family and a recruit into my office to talk to them. So I think this is going to be one of the most anxious recruiting classes for both college students and their families and parents, because I think it's highly likely this year that students might have to commit to colleges that maybe they've never been to. So the virtual recruiting is going to take it to another level this year, which is kind of anxious, and it's kind of scary for coaches. And I bet it's even worse for the families that are on here listening, because I can't see once schools bring their campus population back, they're going to allow overnight visits in the dorms that were expected, or people to sit in on classrooms and be a lot more restrictive. So I think we've got a few months ahead for us.
Yeah, for sure. So halfway joking, but when you say they can't stop on the way, I mean, if they get like a bathroom break, does the alarm go off?
Well, again, it's going to be on the honor system, but I think people might drop off.
Mom, I really have to go pee. You can't stop.
No.
Joe's going to know if you stop. Keep going.
So that's it. Cross your legs. Okay, dehydrate.
Take deep breaths. You should have drank the water.
Yeah, probably easier said than done in Wisconsin but in Florida, they might have had a time down there.
Not in Florida, not going to happen. Got to keep hydrated down here.
Yeah, it is. I think. I mean, it's challenging. I think is a great word, because Joe, we've spoke before. You know, you're actually Division III says, hey, you can go watch games, but then your school says you can't leave Wisconsin. So and I think the frustrating thing for you guys is it is school by school. So in Division III, you can't travel, but maybe the school in your conference you want. I mean, so that puts a member school like you at a complete disadvantage.
Yeah, and it just one of the things that I've said, we've been talking about this, is like we have to figure it out. As coaches, we get problems put our way all the time, and this is now probably the biggest one of my career as a head coach. But we will find spies, coaches who are close by, and trust your club coach to give us honest assessments of people. Those relationships are going to be very, very fruitful and helpful this year.
Yeah, NCAA Division I and Division II, and Division II is in a quiet period. Division I is actually in a dead period. Is one of you guys want to explain what a dead period is?
You got it, Joe? I don't.
My understanding, and again, just my basic understanding, is that the Division I coaches are not allowed to have any contact or communication, and I believe it's through the end of August as well. But I've heard that Josh might be going through the end of November. That's the rumor I've heard. Yeah. But that is like they can't travel, they can't watch, they can't communicate. Is my understanding. So, again, one of the things is going to be helpful for those coaches and those recruits is that all of those coaches are following the same guide. Is I think a good idea that everyone is playing off the.
So it's all kind of the same. It's a level playing field, which is nice. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. You're right. So Division I can't watch any games. They can't do anything. Division II can only attend camps or send spies. Division III is able to do what the school lets them do, which isn't much. And then you have NAI.
I was going to say that they don't know there's a COVID case going on.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. They're still full blown. They pushed the championship to the spring, but I don't know any NAI schools that are. They're just like you said. They're just playing. Like, hey, here we go.
NAIA, I've got a couple of friends who are coaches there. They're like the first group to really go to this new age model of a split soccer season. And I think a lot of people are excited about it. I know even some of the NCAA is now starting to look at maybe like a non-conference, local, regional games for them in the fall that are safe. They can maybe travel a little bit more and definitely play their championships. And they're talking of just playing on Saturdays and, all the things that I'm talking and advocating for a long, long time. And so maybe there might be some positive change come from that decision.
Yeah.
Wow, that'd be good. So let's head into the next topic as we talk. And we'll take a question. Is anyone on the phone here that you guys have a question that we can right now? Looks like we have 3 people on the line, and you guys have a
Me and Trent are doing a good job here.
All right. So again, if you've
It's
called
ever
in,
changing for us. So
yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
If you've called in, we're asking that you head over to YouTube, youtube.com/Rush Soccer. These, if you have a question, feel free to ask. That's what we're here for. If not, we're gonna continue moving on. So again, if you're on there, we leave this open for questions. All right. So moving on here. So now what we're looking at is what do we. How do these kids stand out? So it is challenging, and how do they stand out here? And what do they need to do?
You know, just like I think we are going to have to be creative with how we're going to get to see players, I think players are going to have to be creative to stand out for us. You know, this is going to be a testing time. So Joe mentioned, you know, making sure that you can trust, that can talk to college coaches for you. You know, maybe we're going to be seeing more training session videos coming from clubs or inter squad scrimmages where we haven't seen those in the past. But this will be the year where, you know, any opportunity you can get to be on film is going to be very important for especially the class of 21, me too as well.
Well, let me ask you a question. You guys, we got two people hop on. You guys have a question here on the phone. Ending in 6-3. What's your question? Hi, what's your question? All right. So you mentioned, and here's a question. You mentioned training, and I was on a call with Northern Colorado Rush, and she had an idea about doing like a combine, like you kind of like an NFL combine, and you film it, and you're putting players through. Not just rondos, but you're putting them through actual things that college coaches you guys may want to see. What's your thought on that?
I think that's it's a pretty clever idea, and you know, one of the things that is going to be the challenge, and we're going to really hammer this here on this call is like whatever you can do to show a coach in a different state, a different zip code, what you can bring to the table right now. I think that if there's something that's a little outlandish, that's a little bit different, so that we might not have seen before, and the fact that you're thinking outside the box to be seen and to showcase, I think is a great idea. This is a scare. We're being asked to evaluate and recruit without maybe seeing people live or going to their games, which everything that we've done for years. Can't do that, but you can believe that we're still going to have to bring in a recruitment class. So what I think it's a great idea. I really do.
Yeah, I would second that as well. As you know, we've had many emails of virtual showcases where coaches have put together showcases maybe between, you know, their 21 class against their information and rankings and all sorts of different information we've never received before. Like Joe said, thinking outside the box. How can you get that information to the college coaches this year? I think it's going to change the recruiting landscape, you know, for years to come, because all these TikTokers and Instagram live kids, they've got to think of new ways to get recruited. So
kind of putting you guys on the spot, if we're looking at like a combine, and you talk about training, what kind of things would you guys want to see? You know, I know just, hey, complete a pass, but what kind of things, if we think outside that, if someone's going to film a training session, what do you guys want to see?
You know, I'll jump in. I mean, I would say how fast someone can run without the ball, with the ball. Agility drills would be a real simple thing. But then going deeper, you know, maybe something like a game of horse, accurately over 30 to 40 yards. Can you control the ball out of the air? You know, basic juggling, you know, 250 times without it dropping, with the ball below the knee. That's going to be of interest for college coaches. They know you've been around a soccer ball a little bit. You know, geez, you know, can you head the ball out the air? Can you, if you're you're a set piece specialist, put some free kicks. You know, like really any part of soccer that shoots, and you can put it together over 3 to 4, 5 minute film that gives a coach an idea of what you are as a rounded player would be a useful skill.
Say horseshoes, and then maybe that's a very common game. I'm imagining, the old you toss the horseshoe. What is the game? Trent nodded and said like he knew what it was too. So it's maybe my horseshoes in soccer.
Well, at least I call it. Basically, you have usually two players, probably 30 to 40 yards apart from one another, strikes the ball in the air, and the one touch to try and stop the ball going on the ground as possible.
Got it. Okay, makes sense. Sounds a lot of fun. I've seen that. Okay.
I've seen your touch.
I always get picked last for anything that involves skill.
you just stick to the running part.
Yeah.
Okay? All right,
I was a goalkeeper, man. I didn't run either. I didn't do much. Yeah, so cool. Yeah, Trent, anything to add on that?
In training sessions, spatial recognition, we'd love to see more off of defending, shape, stuff that we would see in a showcase from you. Especially if we were just coming to watch you personally at your game. I actually think goalkeepers might have an added advantage because they probably do a lot more private training sessions than field players do. And, goalkeepers can pick out, like Joe said, 3 to 5 minutes of a good training high intent to show us your shot stopping, your diving, your catching, all that good stuff.
Besides being the by far the most important position on the field, goalkeepers are able to also get some good training videos. So I've helped put a few together during this COVID, and so if you guys can send you the video of how to some ideas to do train set coach, you kind of follow this and set up your camera. They're very easy to do. You're right, they're kind of an advantage. So. Hey, we're gonna take a quick 30-second break. This episode today is Rush Soccer's online ACT/SAT training. So we're going to take a quick 30-second break, and this is brought to you by Magoosh. All right, we are back. Thank you so much. This is brought to you by Magoosh, which leads us into our next topic. That's how fancy we've gotten, Joe. I mean, we have Magoosh is,
So green screens, commercial breaks, like we're in the big time. I feel like I've made it.
Only thing I need is so like this guy, Rush Soccer is on it. Well, so that does obviously lead into the next topic, how clever I am. And I do want to talk about ACT and SAT currently. So there's a lot of confusion on ACT, SAT. But currently, for the fall 2020, NCAA has waived, looking at, have they officially waived it for 2021 yet?
I do not believe so.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't think they have, Josh.
Okay. So right now, they haven't waived for 2021, but for the fall, you guys have gotten lucky, and the ACT is waived. Every school could still require it when NCAA requires it again. So let's talk about that, and kind of specifically your school. What are you guys looking at for ACT?
Yeah, so it's definitely important that the student athletes check with the schools that they're applying to, because as you said, some institutions may still require them. So even though the NCAA has waived them, certain institutions still use them as far as your admissions process. Like at our school at Eckerd, you can get a good bump in some money if you have set yourself apart with your SAT score. So it's definitely important to still keep studying for it, to keep pursuing taking it 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 times, whatever you score. But it'll definitely help your money as far as the institution that you're concerned with. But I would check to the admissions counselors at whatever schools you're talking to, interested in, and making sure they're all different. Just like our seasons might be different this year between conferences, every institution is going to be different with what they require.
Mr. Joe?
Yeah, one of the things that I would say is that, before you've taken the SAT or ACT, so, functional schools, you can get your applications in. Most of their schools' applications opened here pretty recently. And then if you take the ACT and you get your scores back in, say, early October, if you get a good score, then you'll be able to add that on to your application. So if you've got college coaches, I know for my group, when I'm in my recruiting timeline, I want people to apply during what's called our early action 1 to get into our first application deadline group. If people apply, they can add that in if they get a good score. Alternatively, they could also get a score and look to submit that score. I didn't study enough, or I had a bad day at the testing center. So to do your research, there are going to be schools that waive it for your class. There are going to be schools like Lawrence that is test optional, but there's also going to be schools out there that go, you got to figure it out. And if you can't get it, and that might narrow your search, it might help you out. You might not be able to go to the school at the top of your list because of that. Maybe your state isn't doing this time. So do your research. And if you have questions, reach out to the coach who's recruiting you, or reach out to your admissions counselor through your admissions office, and they will tell you exactly what you need to be admitted to the institution.
So, what when you say test optional? Obviously, that makes sense, but is there still money for it? Like, do you guys still give, if you have a 30 ACT, you're going to get $7,000 hypothetically? Is that still there?
You're applying to? I would say that one of the things that your admissions counselors and college coaches is, what is their test score? And if the average ACT score is a 27 and you get a 31, then heck yeah, put your test score down. Even on a test optional score is a 30 and you get a 27, maybe you don't want to submit it. So it's a little bit of a gray area, and coaches and admissions counselors have got to be careful how much information you get, but you can ask average of what the campus population looks like.
Okay, very good. And we have someone on the line here. Are you listening? Do you have, what's your question? On the call, you guys have a question? All right. On what happens when you call in and ask questions. All right. You guys who are listening out there, so there's the call-in number on the line on the 518-552-0725. Call in. You can hop on. You can ask questions. We're sitting here chatting with Joe Sager from Lawrence University and Trent Frederick from Eckerd College, Florida and Wisconsin, respectively. We're kind of chatting about what everything's happening in this weird world of recruitment and things. Questions, and hopefully we can answer it. If not, we'll just chat with you and say hi. Or if we get confused and you're not sure why you called in, we'll just keep moving. So we're getting used to that today. Anything else to add of things that have been sticking out to you? If you've seen kids have been creative, thinking outside the box, that have stuck out, or really grabbed your attention?
I would say it is going to be important with, I felt definitely that when the lockdown first started and was kind of nationwide, the recruits were doing a really stellar. I think every college coach was like, wow, it's finally spawned back almost instantaneously. As the time's gone on and more activities have started, people have made, that's maybe the electronic communication has maybe dampened a little bit. And I just implore players out there with the craziness going on, stay in contact with coaches. It's even if you think nothing's happened, you've not played games or you're just training, it's okay to send an email to a coach and say, hey, coach, here's an update, and this is what I've done. We understand that things are looking weirder than they have done before, but don't go quiet. If you might say, they're really not interested in me, and I'm going to move on. So stay in contact, shoot the text, call them, send them whatever information you've got. Even if, I have a player who's from Pennsylvania, and last week she sent me the press release from her high school association that said they're not going to play fall sports. That's awesome. She's staying connected. She's keeping me updated. And so she was sharing the information that she had at the time. And so I would implore you all to keep coaches updated and in the loop with things, because we're trying to manage our own programs in our own states. If we're working in clubs, we got the other balance. We might not be up to date in the state that you're living in. So,
and you mentioned the emails and continue the connection with coaches. How early? I mean, how early is too early to start emailing? I guess. Trent, what are you shaking your head over there for?
Yeah, I think in the unprecedented time, it's never too early to start emailing. I mean, get on the school's radar. Even if you're going to a college ID camp and I can't respond back to you, maybe I happen to be attending that same ID camp. So it'll give me some. I'll keep an eye out for you and see if I can keep you on my recruiting list or add you on, even if I can just send you be in contact email that Division II has. But I don't think it's too early, especially if you're going into ninth grade. It's probably about time to start getting on coaches' watch lists and getting yourself known.
I would say, Josh, let the college coach decide what's too early. If you have an interest in a school, send your stuff to them. And if, like Trent said, if you're too early for the NCAA 1 or 2 to contact you and do things, they'll respond with the sorry, we can't speak right now. But let the college coach decide what's too soon. If you have an interest and you want to play for a school, get on their radar as quickly as you can.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Trent's point is fantastic, of ID camps. I think right now, for Division II and everyone else besides Division I, I mean, ID camps would be the only way. And once you meet, as Trent said, prior to June 15th of your junior year, Division II can't chat with you, but they can at a camp. So if you're at a camp, you can say hi. You can actually have conversations or sit down and have lunch, and you can talk about this thing. So now you have this dialogue opening with a coach, and so now you can email Trent. Now again, Trent can't respond, but you're now on the radar, and he's keeping up with you, and you give updates. And hey, we played the showcase this weekend. We went 3-0 and we scored 5 goals or whatever it is. So
and to add on to that, find the ID camps that have that are taping your games at the ID camps, because while there may only be 30 to 40 coaches, they're sending those out to, like Exact Sports Camp sent it out to over, 500 coaches in the Southeast region this last week.
Okay.
Even Division I coaches can hop on and look at those games as well. So.
Okay. Again, you guys, this is Cap Chat Live. You see the call-in number. If you haven't, feel free to call in, ask any questions to Joe, myself, or Trent, anything at all here. If you're interested in about where paper started from, it is Appleton, Wisconsin. So that is the home of paper. And if you want to learn how to go mountain bike riding, you don't want to ask Trent. So.
No. No, I'm not the guy for that.
Trent got altitude sickness and didn't make it much off the ground. So, so anyway, so that's kind of what we have going on. The takeaway from this is we are very confused, probably just as much as you are listening, and it will change by Friday again. And so everyone's doing the best to keep up. But the thing that's consistent is get yourself video and keep in contact with college coaches. Full game films right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, is we have some time, especially with no fall seasons. A year ago, we didn't have any time to watch film, but you get a full game film, it may be worth sending over to coach, right? Absolutely.
I just watched one last night.
Yeah. All right, so if there's other questions, we're gonna kind of wrap this up. We appreciate you taking the time for list information can be found on rushcollege.com. You can get all the contact information. It is updated with all the latest of conferences that are canceling the fall season, Division I all the way down to NAI, which they're not doing much, and then JUCO was the first one to push. What do you think of JUCO leading the charge on pushing back to spring? They're the first one just to go all in. Good for JUCO.
And they moved their championship, so it gets something to actually play for and look forward to. I think for the kids' mental, I think it really helps. That's something that's definitely on. I'm pretty sure every coach's mind.
Yeah.
Is the mental well-being of their student athletes. So.
Yeah, JUCO don't care, man. They don't care if they're making people mad.
Yeah.
All right, Joe or Trent, any final words for everyone out there on what's going on right now?
No, stay positive. Take care of yourself more than anything. Get out there and keep in contact with us. We're just as bored at home as you are. So we want to see your game film. We want to see your highlight tapes. Keep in contact with us. Get out to Adi that you can't in normal league play because they've probably all canceled as well, so or postponed. But most importantly, keep yourself healthy and your family healthy.
Yeah, 100%. Be safe, make smart decisions, and hopefully we can all get outside and back to some level of normalcy as soon as possible.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Joe, with Lawrence University, Trent with Eckerd College, Florida, and Wisconsin. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on